do have a question first.
Yeah.
What's got you excited these days, Jake?
I think for me, knowing that I'm about to graduate in a couple weeks is very exciting for me. I think as people with disabilities and what speaking of what makes us sexy, I think as people with disabilities, we often downplay our accomplishments, and in in life, people downplay their accomplishments, and I think it's really sexy to be authentic and to be to be yourself. And I think a couple years ago, I wouldn't have said I was that proud of myself. I think you take things in stride, and back at home, I have some awards that I look at, and from my broadcasting here at Radio Hofstra University, and some are some things that I've done and I'm not that proud of. I feel that I've maybe got it because they wanted to be more inclusive or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you recognize what it what you actually did, it's not about inclusiveness, it's about that you were a part of something really special. And it's really, really cool to feel a part of something really special. We at the radio station got a chance to win the radio station of the year, which I humbly say I was part only a little bit a part of it, but to know how much people worked for it and to be affiliated with that, to also get recognized for the community service and the public service announcement that I did about disability, and that was something that's unique to me because I'm the only person at the station that has a physical disability. So really doing something like that as a first project that I did at the station didn't really feel comfortable to me because I wanted to do something that was quite different. I wanted to not highlight my disability. I wanted to only like talk about sports. But as I got the award and as I look at people like yourself and you post a lot about Jay Shetty, and you look at people like Jay, he was once a monk. He got declined 30 jobs because he was once a monk. And what does he do now? He talks about being a monk and talks about the differences and stuff like that. Not everyone has the courage to do that. And
Yeah.
that is why he's so successful. You take what you have and you run with it. The old expression is you have lemons, you make lemonade with it. And think over the years, I tried to avoid making lemonade. I wanted to just not be sour, but I wanted to throw away uh, that those lemons, and I didn't want to make lemonade with them because I was embarrassed about how I was. But now, in hindsight, looking back at it and being at a place where actually now is where I think I can make my greatest impact, is like saying to myself, like, hey, you have this disability, you might not like it every day, but it's something that you could use to leverage and you can impact people. We talk about connection on badass boundaries, and there's one thing that I strive for is connection, and I want to surround myself with more people that want connection, more people that want purpose in their lives. You could go around doing stuff that you want to that you think is quote unquote normal, and not embracing yourself because you want to fit in. But at the end of the day, what is that gonna help you with? I don't think it's gonna help you with a lot, in my humble opinion. And it's taken me 26 years to realize that. So it's not easy. But as I go into the next chapter of my life, I want to be able to say that I did it my way and that I have no regrets in life, because I did everything I could possibly do to make my life fulfilling, even though it might seem like that I don't have a fulfilled life because I have cerebral palsy. And when you watch me walk, you might think that that is the case. But when you get to know me and when you get to know you, I think we're much more than our cerebral palsy. I think you use this term as well. CP doesn't define us, which is true, but we can use that to actually define us. Like, so people say CP doesn't define us. That's true. But our flaws, quote unquote, think define us. And I'm not saying that it's a flaw, but it's something different. It's not a flaw. You can take that and you can determine, like as I said before, you can take it and run with it, run away with it, and not choose to make lemonade with it. But your impact when you do make lemonade is much greater. And I know that's a long-winded answer, so I apologize.
Oh, oh, come on, Jake. You know better than that. You can't be telling me you apologize. You have nothing to apologize for, man. That was a beautiful answer. I think that was a powerful story that you just walked through. And it gave me more questions, honestly. So I'm curious, based on what I heard you say, what does it look like to you to now be, if I stripped away all your accomplishments, awards, any like material accomplishment, what does it look like to be the authentic you and to be proud of that person?
Yeah, I struggle with this all the time, but it humbles me, because at least for me with a disability, I have tough time, as I said, embracing myself. I I need to embrace myself and accept my weaknesses, but also I need to evaluate and take inventory about what I'm just thinking is a weakness and what I want help with, because I
Yeah.
just want help with it and I want reassurance. It turns out that the reassurance that I get that feels the best is not from anyone, but it's from myself when I do something that is so impactful and what seems mundane and to other people, in the fact that they can do it faster, gives me more pleasure than it would if I didn't do it faster. For example, I'm doing a podcast about Title IX and women in sports and how it's evolved. Um, the the project is quite lengthy and it's to a 800-word essay and a podcast of 15 minutes. As you may imagine, we got all semester to do it. As you also may imagine, I didn't do it that way. So, so it's about Sunday and it's due on Tuesday. So before I was on this call, I called someone and said, "Can you help me with it?" And sure enough, he agreed to help me with it. But then his computer died and he didn't have a computer charger. So I was forced to do it myself. And that was probably the most rewarding thing I could do because I now know that it's my work and I'm gonna do it. And the thing that prevents me from doing it is me telling myself it's gonna take longer and feeling that I might get judged for it taking longer. Now, am I going to get people, including myself, that may have said, "Well, you should have done this earlier." Yeah, but is it embarrassing? Should it be embarrassing for me to say, "Hey, I need more time on this"? And I'm not gonna do that now because it's 2 days away, and I don't need. I shouldn't have done it anyway, like with my teacher, but what takes someone 2 hours to do might take me 4 hours to do. So I need to look myself in the mirror and say, "Jake, you have to do this now." So you don't feel like that it's gonna crumble up and then make it so that you think you're ruining yourself because you're not giving yourself enough time. And I think that's emblematic of life. We do things that that are easy for us because we don't want to go inside and say, what I have to do right now might be poop. But and I'm not saying my project is, I love it, but I took more time than I should have. But what I have to do right now might be poop. But am I gonna regret not taking the time to do it and not taking what I consider I need the time to do? Because as going full circle, and I'll probably get in trouble for this if my teacher watches it because I just told her that I was unable to get people to help me, so I would have this later. But I going full circle, what I'm most proud of myself is that I did it, and I could not have gotten that satisfaction with someone else doing it for me. Now there's a part where you need to do a transcript, and I have this program that does it for me, and it might be difficult for me to do the transcript. Am I gonna waste my time typing something out that I think someone else could do the same job as me? No, but it's not like it would have been any different if I did. So we need, as I said, we need to take inventory about what we need to pick up, when we need to pick up our poop, and when we need someone else to pick it up for us.
So it's who's holding the shovel? Is it you or somebody
Yeah,
else?
yeah. And I
All
think we
right.
need to be honest with that, as I mentioned.
Yeah, man. And you earlier mentioned wanting to live a fulfilling life with like that has connection in it. So I'm curious, when you think about connection right now, what does that look like for you to meet what the expectation or the desire that you have for that connection?
I think it all comes back to, again, be honest with yourself. And in the pool of people that are in a college, or more of people that are in a city or town, it's easy to say, oh, I should fit in with them. And you try to do that, but then you realize that, why am I doing that for? Because it's not something that benefits you. You're in journalism, people think that, and I'm using this not because I'm a journalist, but I think journalism and English is emblematic of life, really. Um, because challenges are tough, and you watch things that, like, I watched that thing that says, okay, if you spell SOUR, and what does this sound, what does this pronounce? Or, yeah, SOUR, sour, or I might even be confusing myself. But if you spell the same thing differently, it's the same, it pronounces a different thing. So we need to say, hey, I want people, I want to connect with people, but I have different options, just like it's a different option. You have different ways to phrase a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
I have different ways to phrase my life. And that is up to me. And if I take someone's way, I might not be giving myself enough credit that I'm going to create my own way. And that's what we have to say to ourselves is, maybe Nathan's creating his way and it looks all dandy and great on social media. And but why am I jealous of Nathan? Which I'm not, but why am why would I be jealous of
Mm-hmm.
someone else that's doing something that I want to do, like write or do something like that, or get a job in an industry, get that high profile job. Why am I jealous of them? We are jealous because we see it in ourselves and we don't take action. If we
Yeah.
took action, then that jealousy would disappear because we did what they did and we took action on it. But because we don't take action on something, that's why we're jealous.
I love that, man. I agree with that 100% about the difference between those two particular people is one did take action and they decided, okay, I'm going to put up with all the things that may in the moment come to me dressed as judgment or dressed as fear of failure, whatever it's dressed at, whatever it's labeled as, and I'm gonna try it, I'm gonna do it, and we're just gonna see what happens.
Yeah, I think then you go and you have questions. And if you don't have questions, then what then why did you do it? And
Yeah,
or why did you make someone do that or whatever? Like if we oftentimes I believe this, but and I believe it now, and it's hard to believe in the moment when you're getting like homework. But why do teachers give us homework? It's not because they want to give us homework. It's because they want us to come back and say, hey, I I don't understand this after I got the opportunity to do it myself. Maybe it's hard to do in the class because you don't want to say in that moment, but
yeah,
there's no rule that says, hey, you can't write on your paper that I don't understand this. Can I meet with you at the end of class? And I think we need to realize that there's no shame in that, but you also need to realize that maybe that test score that you got that was poor, you're not gonna remember that in 10 years. But but are you in the right subject? Because is this gonna help you with your ultimate goal? And I'm not saying that, oh, now I don't like math, I'm gonna hold on it because there's some things in life that we don't like that we can't fold on. But because I'm not good at trigonometry, is that going to affect my life? Um, for me, not. For some other people might say yes, but I'm not. I'm not a good speller. If I'm not a good speller in what I do, um, is that a problem? Yeah, because it is very important to spell and to know how to spell. But there's other ways to get your job done. If someone's dyslexic or if someone just can't spell, you could dictate something and you could work on spelling. That is something that you, if you really want to do it, you'll do it. If it doesn't really matter to you, you won't do it. And think when we get things, we look at them as single things that we're doing right now. Like I could look at this project and say, why do I have to write 800 words on something, and I don't really want to do this. But at the end of the day, is this gonna help me with my career? And the answer to that, after taking inventory, is yes. How is it gonna help me with my career? For me, it's gonna make me more empathetic. How is that gonna how is it gonna help you with something? For you, trigonometry might be necessary because you're gonna be a doctor. So we have to look in the mirror and say, hey, is what we're doing right now going to be helpful for us right now? Maybe not be helpful for us right now, but is it going to be helpful for us down the road? And if the answer is not, if the answer is yes, then do it. If the answer is no, then if you could find a way to get out of it, don't get out of it. But if you can't find a way to get out of that math class, for me, there's a deeper purpose of that math class than just figuring out what math problem is, how to solve math problem.
Yeah.
There's that discipline that in life that you're gonna be able to pull out that knowledge that you got from having to stay at that in that math class 50 years from now, but you're not gonna remember that test score. But we do that as we just do that automatically. We don't realize it, but we do it automatically. And for me, an example was when I was in school, I had an 8, and remember my OT coming to my school to set up this chair, and she was upfront with me, and she's like a mother to me, so that's what she can do. She said, you're not sitting in this chair right now, and rather bluntly. But and I got upset about that. And at the end of the session with her, my aide said, I promise you I will never be as hard as that person. And I was like, thank you. I don't want that from you or in my life. But sure enough, after a couple months, certainly a couple years that I've worked with her, she was harder than that person that I was talking about. She made me go back and get my binder after I forgot my binder. And it was not a close ride. It was not a close walk. And for me, it was probably harder than the average person to walk there.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a lesson that I've carried with me for a long time, is to be prepared. And when you really, and I'm not saying I'm the most prepared person at this, because I'm not. I'm really not prepared, as you can see with my assignment. But if you care about something that much, you're going to be prepared. And remember when she and I still talk a little bit. And I remember also something else that she said. She said, "Listen, Jake, you don't want to be with an aide. I don't want to be your aide. I want to be a teacher one day. And I'm going to help you get to the point where you're independent and I'm that teacher." And sure enough, that happened. And I think with that motivation and with that drive that she had, it helped us. And I'm not gonna say that hurt, that didn't hurt. It did. It is the one of the primary reasons I started to go to therapy. I hated the fact that every single day I would walk into that door, into those doors, I would know that something I didn't want to do was waiting for me to do it. And that was tough, but now I appreciate it. I do. I appreciate it as much as ever, because now I understand what it is, what it means to do something you don't like, but benefit from it. And it's something that I certainly benefit from. And I mentioned having the hindsight to look yourself in the mirror. And that time, and oftentimes, and that's what I'm working on right now, is I didn't have the ability to look myself in that mirror. So I needed someone to be able to tell me, "Hey, Jake, you can do this." And I get frustrated, but I I eventually do it. Now
Yeah.
we, like today, I sat in my bed for a while because I didn't want to do the assignment, and yesterday I sat in my bed for the whole day because I didn't want to do the assignment. And I was disappointed that I wasn't able to get help with it. And I was in, as we talk about, I was in freeze mode, which means I can't move
Mm-hmm.
literally. And I had the choice to quit. And I oftentimes, with my therapist, say, and all these people do things like meditation and stuff like that, but I'm too, I feel like that's different, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to be different. Like I thought I was too macho for it. But
Huh.
when
Okay.
I actually did it and actually made sure that I did my routine and did that, it's it makes me better, because the way I think about it is that it's 5 minutes that I'm gonna waste. I'm gonna waste that time, and this is not gonna help me. I probably shouldn't be doing my assignment right now. But after that time that I take to better myself and to focus on self-awareness and self-care, that's the time where I do my best work. So I need to take, I keep on using the word inventory, but I need to take inventory and say, hey, am I doing something to the best of my ability? And if not, did I skip a step that I should have not skipped? And it's hard to be honest with yourself sometimes, but the fruits of that labor is much tastes much better on the other end than it does if I stayed in that bed. And it's it's interesting because I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and they say that when you go and make yourself busy, you feel better about yourself, and that is true. And maybe some days I just want to not make myself busy because I feel like I have too much to do, but then I'm stuck in my head and I don't like that. So you have to take inventory about what's the better option. And I'm gonna say right now that I probably will make that mistake again in some area, in some other area. I won't do it with this now because I know that it's due. But I know that when I'm on vacation, I won't do it because I don't see a benefit, an immediate benefit. But I know if I did it, I would feel much better. So doing it is something that you should be able to should do. And for me, that's hard to do because sometimes you feel isolated and you feel like I'm the only one that's doing this and no one else is going to know about it. But
Mhm.
if you agree with your psychologist or someone has that you're going to see each and every week that says, I'm going to keep you accountable with this, then you're going to have a reason to do it. Just like I have a reason to do my report because now I see that I will be down Hoops Creek if I don't do it. So
Yeah, man.
that's what gets me going and keeps me that way. It says that you need to get your butt up and do this.
Let me ask you, like, I've got several questions that have come up since you've been talking, and like the first one, I would love to know more about like your experience of, you said I felt too macho to do meditation. What makes meditation not macho in your eyes?
It helps you, it, and anything that helps you is not doesn't matter if it's not macho or anything like that. Anything that helps you is something that you should do. And and you have to look and say, that helps me, so I'm gonna do it. But it's interesting. when I look at people and look at Jay Shetty and all these successful people, I say that sometimes they probably just say this because they think it's a paycheck for them. It's like they believe in it because it's something that they know is going to help other people, but maybe their lifestyle is so good that they don't have to do this. And when you look back, you see the reason why that their lifestyle is so good is because they are committed to doing it.
Yeah.
And you don't see that on Instagram. You only see the results of what they did and the fact that they're happy. But you don't know that they didn't broadcast the fact that the reason why they are feeling this way is because they did this, and that. But when you see the happiness, or when you see someone who has that thing that you want, remember that that didn't come without a price, and it and you have to pay that price to reap the benefits of it, and you have to embrace what is your quote unquote flaw. Think I think this guy, I don't think this guy John O'Leary, he was burned over he burned himself. He did, as a kid he played with fire.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I guess, in that moment trying to be cool. But I can't say what he was trying to do, but then he played with fire and he burned 100% of his body. And he was in the hospital for a while, months and months. And I don't want to butcher it, but he says that his dad said to him one time that you could either use this as an excuse and no one will blame you for it, but you can use it as something that empowers you and empowers others because you'll be known for it. So when you think about that and how that impact is impacting you, and not just impacting you, impacting others. Think about that the next time you're like, why is this happening to me? And quite frankly, I say that I might wish that things were different for me. I can get the same lessons out of something that probably is lesser than having cerebral palsy, but those lessons, but I can't tell you that for a fact. And
Yeah.
those lessons that I have had, and I've told my mom this a bunch of times, those are lessons that are some of the lessons that you cannot teach me, that I learned based off myself having cerebral palsy, and some of those are the most valuable lessons that you could learn in life. And I'm sure being my mother or being a relative of someone with cerebral palsy, there are or someone with some challenge, and everyone has a challenge. So just think about it. It might take you a while, but you could add that to your gratitude list actually after that, and say, "Hey, I'm thankful for this because this has molded me into the person I am today." So that's how you need to feel about it. And I struggle with that. But I should know that I can pick up the phone and say, "Hey Nathan, I'm struggling with something. Can you help me with it?" And sure enough, Nathan will say yes or no. And I'll go from there. And if Nathan can help me with it at that moment, I could use my own mechanisms to do it. Like I always tell my therapist that I want to call you and ask you questions, but is that doing me a favor? Is That's probably not doing me a favor in the immediate future. So I'm not gonna do that because I know that but I know that the lessons you've taught me in therapy are supposed to be implemented to me, and some of those lessons that I've learned I'm able to implement,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't and I don't implement them, and I'm not able to implement them, but most I'm not able to implement, but I can say, "Hey, like I dealt with that bad feeling, and I made it through. I didn't make it through the way I didn't make it through maybe the way I wanted to, but just the fact that I didn't do what I had the urge to do is something that's a win." And that's not to say, I'm certainly not saying that the next time you have a issue that you don't pick up the phone and call that person. And I need to be more stringent about maybe I need to take more inventory about when I do and not feel embarrassed about it. It's just about the it's just about what you can do. I'm not running a race of my favorite athlete. I'm running my race, and oftentimes we compare ourselves to our idols because we think we can do what they can do, but ultimately they've put in hundreds of thousands of hours to be where they are at. So are you putting in hundreds of thousands of hours to be where you are at? If you're not, that's probably the reason why you're not there. But that,
I want to ask you something about that real quick. I want to ask you, like, when that thought for you comes up and you're like, well, just use me as an example, right? Like you say, hey, I think I would like to call Nathan and talk to him about this particular thing that's going on for me, right? Or it's your therapist, as you said earlier. What's that conversation like that's going on internally for you that stops you from making that call right when like the thought comes in your mind, because I know a lot of people deal with that conversation just like you, of they've got somebody on their mind they want to call, but they're running whatever their story is and they end up not calling that person.
I think it's I think when I evaluate it, I say, is this a issue that I can't deal with myself? And when I say that, what helps me the most is this a reoccurring issue that I've reoccurred this issue, but I I don't I still need help with it. And sometimes it's because I don't act on what I want to act on. And and I don't do that because I don't know how to do it. So the next time that I talk to that person or my therapist is like, how do I do this? So I'm going to be more familiar and feel better about it, because right now they're dictating what I feel. I want myself to dictate what I feel. And I let the thing that I think is gonna go into their mind hold me back. And I'm I'm like elementary school in this, so I'm not someone that you look up to in this, because I don't know how the heck to do this. But you say, hey, is this going to is this going to hurt the other person? It might hurt the other person, which many people say, hey, it's gonna hurt the other person, and I'm not gonna do it. And I've done that 100% of the time. And
Mm.
and I've just learned how to do that. And I'm still doing it 95% of the time. But what I suggest people say is, going back to my homework, is that gonna make me feel better that I'm not doing my homework, or feel worse? So the answer is, I'm gonna feel worse about it. So is that gonna make me feel better about keeping it inside, or worse about it? It's gonna make me feel worse. I don't know what to do then. I'm going to say, okay, I can't do this right now because I don't know what to do. And it's up to me to decide that I can, depending on what level you are at personally, you can take many steps. But what helps me is humbling myself and saying, hey, I'm in freeze mode right now because I'm in freeze mode. I can't control that. But I'm gonna go on YouTube and search a video that is taking me out of freeze mode, because that's what I need to do right now. But oftentimes when it just takes me, I'm like, I don't want to do that because because this emotion is too strong right now. And then I say, am I wasting time? So when you do that next time, just remember that doing the hard thing could often be hard, but the outcome is often more relief or proud. Either more relief, definitely, or you're proud of yourself. That comes with, you'll be proud of yourself that you did something that you didn't want to do. And I often look and say, hey, depending on this, depending on that, I don't feel like I don't feel like I am experiencing the external validation that I should experience right now. But, and then I say, well, they say you should give yourself internal validation. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But am I saying that because I want to be, like I said, more macho? Or am I saying that because that really doesn't work? In my case, it really it does work. I just don't want to sit there and say, oh, I have to do I have to do meditation, or I have to do this earlier. But when we do that and we succeed at it, it makes us all that much more happier that we did it. And if we don't know how to do it, we can learn how to do it. And we don't have to just say we don't know how to do something. We can learn how to do it, and we don't have to. For people with disabilities, us personally, we think we need to solve the world, or I do sometimes, and that's not, and do it by myself because I want to prove to myself that I could do this and I don't need anyone else to do it. But doing that does not help sometimes, because you're gonna get yourself back in that frame of mind. But oftentimes I'm like, I excuse myself. I mean, I make that mistake because I'm like, I need to pick up this can right now. And can I pick up the can? Yeah, I can. But is there a nice looking girl that can pick up the can for me? Yeah, she can. But, and I often ask her, uh, I often ask her to pick up the can for me. Now, should I do that? No. I'm doing that as part of a coping mechanism that makes me think that I am not worthy enough to go up to that person and say, hey, I think you're attractive, or something like that, which I have real trouble doing. But what I need to remember is that if someone doesn't appreciate me for who I am, then I shouldn't worry about that. I shouldn't give a poop about that, because they're they don't deserve me. And that's not to say that I am better than them. I might make a mistake and I don't deserve them. But at the end of the day, when we think about connection, you have to think about, are we connecting with people that we want to connect with? Or are we just connecting with those people because we want to feel a high that we just connected with someone? that we shouldn't have connected with. Like, am I gonna connect with someone that is a partier or something that I don't want to do? Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, that might feel good at the moment, but it's not gonna feel good at the end of the day. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
remember, and I was proud of myself for this. I remember in my undergrad, I said, "There's a really very cute girl that I think is nice, and I want to talk to her." Then she was mean to me, and I said, "Well, that doesn't matter anymore because she was mean." But that's a hard step to take, and
Uh-huh.
that's a step. But what I think we all struggle with as people with disabilities, or I should say I struggle with, is feeling that I'm loved because of my disability and not feeling that I'm not loved because of my disability, or feeling that I'm only loved because I have this quality or have this quality. And it's hard to I I don't believe people that tell me I'm handsome, or or I'm sexy, because I'm always telling myself, well, I walk differently, so how can that be sexy? But I think when we go back and tell ourselves what we're doing, where we're at right now, a lot of us go on the TV and look at, see, like, I could see Kim Kardashian or someone that is like that I think of as attractive, and is and like, am I gonna think they might be more attractive outside my than who I choose to marry? But is that something that is important? And I'm not, and I'm gonna say no, but after that, I'm going to think that the person who I'm with is the most attractive person in the world. Not because I originally thought that, but because I saw them for who they were inside, and
Mm-hmm.
then I saw them outside, and that developed. And when you think about it that way, it helps.
Yeah, I got one final question for you, Jake.
Yeah,
And man, what you were just talking about first before I even asked the question, I get that, man. I get the whole thought of not wanting to believe people when they tell you, especially when it comes to how you look, because of that same exact reason. That can be something where, especially when I was probably your age and younger, I would go through the same thing. Well, I walk really, really differently. Um, and I think that also is, we don't see a lot of people with disabilities portrayed as the attractive person on TV. Like you just said, we go to the TV, we see the people that are placed in front of us, and that becomes our social norm, whatever that is. So I relate to that. But my final question for you, my friend, is, having said all that, what's the greatest advantage having cerebral palsy has given you when it comes to connecting to other people?
Actually think that's the easiest question I've fielded from you today, or I've had the privilege to answer from you today. And that's empathy. I empathize with people, and I'm not just saying this to toot my own horn, and I'm not comparing myself, but I fully expect the people that I show my podcast to, they're gonna say, wow, you really understood what it means to be a woman in sports. And that is because I am a minority myself. And when I look at my life, the people that I am most attracted to are minorities, because we talk about stuff that might not seem difficult for others to talk about, but having the experience that we've had through life is something that enables us to have those conversations and feel empathy. And if I don't get a person that says, hey, then I think you understood that thing, that us, that's okay too. Because number one, they're not gonna say, well, I don't think you understood us. But even if they do, it's gonna hurt for a second. But can I say that I tried my best in doing this? Yeah, and then that's the main take home message is, did I try my best? Was I authentically myself? And did I do something to my ability? Was I authentically myself? And that is the take home message there. Because if I was authentically myself, and I authentically tried and not tried to give bull crap there, then no matter what I get on that test or what I get on the paper, doesn't mean much to me, because I know that I did my best. And that's what you need to take home, is that you did your best. And there'll be revisions, but that's not a indictment on you. That's just telling you that you still have things to learn. Everyone still has things to learn. The greatest baseball player, and this is a cliche, but if you bat 300, that's 3 out of 10. That's 30%.
Yeah, man.
Kind of sucky on a test, but if you bat 300,
You're in the Hall of Fame, baby.
Clear, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You're a Hall of Famer. If you go 3 out of 10 times, you are good. You're good. When you go 3 out of 10 times, I said you're good. You're not good. You're great. You're otherworldly. And we look up to those people, and yet they only do their job 3 out of 10 times, 2 out of 10 times, and they look they look superhuman. So remember that next time you idolize someone in sports, it's the easiest because you could see it. But the next time you idolize someone that might not be the nicest individual in the world, and I'm not gonna mention any names, but there are people in leagues that are really good, but aren't the greatest people. Just remember that they had to deal with failure, and how they deal with failure is what defines them. If someone, like, I wish I could get to the point, and I hopefully will with this one. Like Alex Rodriguez, he's a Hall of Fame player, but he didn't get into the Hall of Fame yet because he took steroids. So if you try to cut corners, then you might not get what you want. If you don't try to cut corners, then you deserve what you get.
Yeah, and it's interesting, man, to kind of close us out just based on several of the examples you've brought up, and whether it's the Jay Shetty example or the baseball example, like at the end of the day, even if you're batting 300 and that 30%, right? What we're not seeing is the everyday work and the everyday cost that they're paying to get where what we see is put out.
Yeah, and I think if you have time, I think I have it right. There's a basketball player that his name's Ray Allen. He got into the Hall of Fame. And I think when you look it up on YouTube, says, I wasn't born great, but I'm great because I tried hard. And I kept on doing it when I thought I was not good. Kobe Bryant didn't score a basket for the whole entire summer,
Mm-hmm.
but he is a Hall of Fame basketball player. Now, I'm not telling you that you are going to be a Hall of Fame basketball player, but there's something Hall of Fame about you that you haven't recognized yet. But when you use it, your life is going to get a lot more better.
Beautiful, man.